EFCC, last week Friday, Justice Ian Ekwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja, he ordered an interim forfeiture of 40 landed properties belonging to the former Deputy Senate President. You know, the man is embattled.
Yes.
He's currently he's in cell in the UK, and instead of us to work to see how we can secure his bail, we are now taking his properties. Barrister Philly.
It's not us that should work to secure his bail.
No, when I mean us,
it's counsel, it's lawyers.
He accepts at the highest level. That's I'm speaking what I saw on a social media wall that people are commenting that instead of us to work towards bringing somebody that is a one-time number 4th man in the country, we are now the one trying to pull him down at home. What's your take, or how do you view this?
This we, I don't understand this we.
Okay, let me remove the we. Okay, let me put it this way. Senator Ekweremadu is currently in the UK prison over an alleged organ harvesting matter. And that case is still on.
Yes.
Now, the EFCC, the federal government through the EFCC went to the courts to seek an order of interim forfeiture of his landed property, 40 of them.
Yeah.
We are 10 in Enugu, 1 in Lagos, in UK, in the US, then in Dubai. What's actually, how would you view it? How would you look at it?
Well, you know,
as a legal practitioner now.
Yeah, this is not the first time. In 2017 too, they did the EFCC did the same thing.
Okay.
But you know, EFCC with their bogus way of going about issue. That property, this one, that one, this one, this one, that one, that one. At the end of the day, they are not able to succeed in getting a final forfeiture of any. In 2017, I was also on a TV station like this, analyzing this same Ekweremadu, the issue. Now you see section 27 of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Act, clearly states that where a suspect, had been involved or allegedly involved in non-violent crime that are economic and financial crime that has to do with money laundering, drugs, a lot of them uncountable issues and all that. The EFCC Act empowers the EFCC to file a motion ex parte and then ask for an interim forfeiture. Because the public think that those properties are gone. No. That is why when the court granted the motion, the court gave the EFCC 7 days to publish it.
National daily.
Yes, the essence of it is that whoever is connected to those properties, some of those properties may not be his. Just put the address there, state it clearly that this is everything is allegation at this level. Okay, so put it forth there. People will now come up, or his own counsel will now come up with counter or come up with motions to vacate those orders. And then citing or whatever their own case is. Then the EFCC will now file the proper suit on the issue. The case is just started. Interim forfeiture does not mean he has lost the case. So the EFCC will now file the proper suit and serve them. They will file their own. You see, you can use interim forfeiture order to get 100 properties of whoever. But the truth is that by the time the case starts, the prosecution must prove that these properties, 40 of them, belong to the defendant. That's one. That's one. Two, the prosecution must prove that these properties were procured from the proceeds of crime. Do you understand?
Yes.
So it's not enough to conclude that, before you can get a final forfeiture, you must, with evidence, inculpate the defendant beyond reasonable doubt for any of those properties to be finally forfeited to the federal government. Okay, that's the position of the law. So this issue of we not wanting him to face the criminal prosecution he has somewhere else, which is not a national issue anyway, it's a personal issue he has somewhere and all that. So in as much as we sympathize with that, that cannot preclude the EFCC from carrying out its own function. Okay. He is in the UK right now. I know there is a case, a pending case of the Abba where on the hush puppy issue that he was to be extradited, and there was a pending case on ground, and the court said no, you cannot subject a man to another criminal prosecution when he's undergoing a criminal prosecution. There are some lawyers.
We are coming to that. We are coming to that.
No, I'm talking okay. Him now. I'm not going there.
Okay.
I'm talking about the Abba Kyari not too long ago. Some lawyers have said because he's going through criminal prosecution in England, that the EFCC ought not to have instigate another criminal prosecution here. You understand? People have argued that. Okay, but both sides, if you look at it, the fact that EFCC got an interim forfeiture does not really mean anything right now until they are able to go beyond just that. Because the ex parte order is not served on anybody.
Okay.
It's undefended.
Yeah, ex parte order, yes. Barrister Chime, yes. What happens in the case where, because according to the judge, they publish, then after 14 days of the publication, after the 7 days of the publication, you now come to the court to tell the court. What happens in the case where the whole 40 properties belong to someone else?
Okay, thank you so much. Before I will answer your question directly, let me provide a different perspective to what my learned friend just mentioned. Ekwerimadu's case, particularly with respect to the forfeiture, interim forfeiture of some of his properties, you know, creates a new perspective to the fight against corruption in Nigeria. Yes. On May this year, on May 12th, 2022, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, assented into a bill known as Process of Crime Recovery and Management Act of 2020, which now became an act of Parliament. Yes. Ekwerimadu's forfeiture proceedings was hinged on this legislation.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, it's important for me to mention some of the key provisions of these provisions, so that to create a perspective under which Ekwerimadu's forfeiture proceedings is going on. This Process of Crime Recovery and Management Act has created a civil aspect of non-conviction-based forfeiture. Unlike what my learned friend said, where EFCC, you have to forfeit upon conviction.
Okay.
But this act created a non-conviction based, in the sense that the EFCC, the ICPC, and every other agencies mentioned under the act have been empowered to take civil suit against properties or proceeds or property suspected to have been acquired through proceeds of crime. Under that act, it shifted the burden of proof, which ordinarily in criminal matters is above reasonable doubt, but is now beyond probability. So the burden of proof in civil matters applies, and the burden of proof now shifts, unlike what we have in criminal jurisprudence, where the prosecutor has the burden to prove the guilt of the defendant. Now the defendant has the onus, the burden, to prove his innocence, in the way that if you have acquired a certain property and the government believes that it was acquired through proceeds of crime, they have rights to take action against you. You now have the burden to prove how you acquired those properties legitimately. That is one of the key provisions of that term. Now, again, if the procedure makes it admissible for you to have a hearsay evidence, unlike what is obtainable in normal evidence act or evidence law jurisprudence, where hearsay evidence is not admissible. It is admissible. Now, what the federal government, just to come back to what Ekweremadu, what the federal government has done is to identify some of these properties being owned by Ekweremadu, which they suspect that he acquired it through
the process
of crime. And the Act empowers them to go through expertise to get an interim forfeiture.
So it means that he will now be the one to go to court to challenge that.
No, he has been given, the window is there. The law provides that upon publication, you have 7 days. Either you or whoever that has interest in those properties that have been mentioned to come to court and they say how you became the owner. And if the court is satisfied, that aspect of the property will be left out. But in the absence of any cogent reason or proof how those properties are acquired, it has to be forfeited permanently. The only concern I have with the proceeding is actually the time frame. You have mentioned that Ekweremadu is already facing a criminal allegation or charge in faraway United Kingdom. Will he be available, and is in the public knowledge that the next appearance in court will be May next year? May next year.
The one in UK, yes.
So do you think that he has been given fair hearing to come and explain how he acquired, how he acquired those properties? So that is the only red flag. That is the only concern I have. But with respect to the procedure and what the federal government has done or is doing, it is proper. I think Ekweremadu will be the first profile person or politician,
since the act.
To be tested with this legislation. So we'll see how it goes. But as far as that law is concerned, it allows for this kind of forfeiture proceedings.
Okay, so Barrister Ofili, we are now talking about, the question was asked that if no one comes within the stipulated time and the adjourned date is December 5th, does that mean the property goes to the federal government?
Well, Ekweremadu was mentioned.
Yes, he was actually.
Yes, so definitely he has lawyers who will respond to all that. You understand? In 2017, the same thing happened.
Yeah, you said so.
But the federal government, they were unable to get on any of the properties because at the end of the day, they said motion was vacated. Okay. Now, the procedure through which they are bringing this is by the new law, cited with my learned colleague, which law they are using to go after the same issues. Okay. So there is nothing improper about what the federal government have done. Okay. Except that in this case, it's coming on the civil platform. The EFCC reserved that power since the Act came into existence in 2003. You understand? They have that right to do so. And then the new Act also mentioned EFCC in the question. So definitely the lawyers will put a defense to this effect, because even anywhere, interim forfeiture is just the beginning of proceedings. It's just that because EFCC have the right of tracing. They are empowered with that right to trace properties. Yes, to trace, identify them. Okay, by motion ex parte, get interim forfeiture of those properties. Then the matter starts. The defendant is thereby put on notice through that, and then there will be a contest. You understand? So that's the procedure. But what I'm trying to say here is that the way it is interpreted in the public domain, it looks like he's in prison here or they've taken all his property. No. There's no final forfeiture yet. Okay. This is just the beginning of the case. And there's no court that will grant final forfeiture without getting to the root of the case.
Okay, Barrister.
Yes, I think I've made the point. Let me also quickly add that, yes, my learned friend was correct when he said EFCC has power to do that, yes, to make forfeiture applications in criminal proceedings. They still reserve those powers, But what this process of crime recovery and management act has done is to create another perspective, another window
to widen
the scope. And if you look at, I think, Section 4 or thereabout of that act, EFCC is part of the agency mentioned, under that act, that has the power. Yes, ICPC, so that has the power. Yes. So the essence is to preserve and protect those properties. You know, so that's why this order is a preservative order. It's interim in nature. Like I mentioned, the only challenge, the only way I'm looking at it differently is what happens at the expiration of the period within which those who have interest in those properties are expected to put up a defense. You know, when we all know that Ekweremadu cannot do that as of now. So the issue of fair hearing may come in, you know, but until this law is tested in court, you know, we have to go by what the law has said. But beyond the legalese, beyond those legal implications, you know, one would begin to ask questions. How did one man, a politician, for the past 20 or 20-something years, Ekweremadu has always been known as a politician. He has never, don't have any other business outside politics. You know, for him to have acquired those properties, you know, how much does he earn per annum? You calculate it by 21 or 20 years, assuming he has not touched his salaries. If you look at the properties mentioned and the values, even those in the US and so on, so you begin to see that the politicians are really not interested in the people. They're interested in their pockets.
You cannot ascertain.
I'm not trying to cast aspersion.
Okay, no, yes, I'm not saying, because for now, I don't think you can tell us the amount an average senator earns at the National Assembly. Well,
it's there. It's in the public domain now. It's in the public domain. Apart from other allowances and all those things, you know. But between us, we know that things happen in the background. But the point I'm trying to make, without prejudice to his person or however he acquired those properties, you know, it creates, you know, kind of questions in our minds. How did this man acquire? These are the ones that have been identified. You know, what is he going to do with all these properties? I'm from Enugu State. I'm not aware of any project this man has done for his people, at least, you know, for these years he has been in government. And there is no single hospital of international standard. And you know, when you look back, in retrospect, you will think that is it a karma that is taking a revenge? Because what actually led him to UK prison is also something that has to do with health, where he could not get those health facilities in Nigeria. That made him run into problems.
When he had the opportunity to make laws.
You know, so when one man has these properties and they cannot do anything for their people. Yes, of course, in the public domain, there is divergent views. People are saying it's witch hunt or it is not witch hunt. That is not my business. But the question is, people are no longer happy with their leaders. Ordinarily, there may be questions. People will be agitating. Why is this man is facing criminal charges in faraway UK? His properties are being confiscated and being seized and so on. You know, but nobody seems to be interested because they believe it's a common patrimony that one man has, you know, has taken. Acquired. So he should face the music alone. So it comes down to our moral, you know, backgrounds. We must have some morality in what we do. You know, these properties, what is he going to do? It's just that his own is not in the public domain, almost all of them. You know? So, but however anyone looks at it, it's the court that will decide at the end of the day. Yes, my own worry is that this is, you know, the time frame. They could have allowed him to finish his criminal whatever and come back to Nigeria. Or when he's on bail, he could be able to defend himself. When that opportunity is not provided, maybe another angle to it.
But this may also be, the case in question may also be a ground for his counsel over there to apply for another bail, since the previous one has been turned down. Of course. And I want to just say a little about the way politicians operate in Nigeria. I mean, my little friend alluded to, even though in passing, karma, but even though I don't believe in karma, because we've relied on karma so many times and it failed. I believe karma is hopeless. But politicians must, as a matter of necessity, bridge the gap between the have and the have-not in society. That's the essence of legislation. Make laws that would bridge inequality, deregulate the commonwealth of the Nigerian state so that it can get to everybody. Right now, cost of living has gone up. I mean, there's no law that is made to cushion the effect of cost of living. In civilized countries where you have a problem, major problem, a legislation is passed to address it immediately. But here we have problems piling on problems. Now we have insecurity in the there's a new vista that's open now, flooding. Okay, we've done nothing about that's insecurity. Yes, we have insurgency already, consolidated banditry, you know, complementing it, and we have all of that. There's no single legislation. This government have not been able to prosecute one bandit, one insurgent. This same government already have a list of the people sponsoring them. They're not able to prosecute one till today. So it tells you the government is not serious about not just the lawmakers or whoever the elites are. The government itself not serious about the